Welcome back, everybody. Can't overdo it here very quickly to rank every piece of media that I got through in the month of November 2025. If you're confused, go watch the October one because I'm not going to waste any time with preamble because I just recorded that video. Now I'm recording this one and I want to get it over with. At number 10, the worst piece of media that I got through this month ends up being, unfortunately, Red vs. Blue Season 2. For the uninitiated, this is a Holo RP here on YouTube, and I think that my lack of playing Halo as a youngin' has come back to bite me because I think that if I did play it, I'd probably like this more. My thesis on Season 2 is essentially the same as it was for Season 1, except that Season 2 was a little bit more funny. Griff is probably my favorite still. I do like both Church and Tex, and that one part in Season 2 when they need to go into Cabooses' mind is peak cinema. I do like Simmons and Donut as well, and anyone else who wasn't mentioned is simply just not really noteworthy enough for me to remember about a month after finishing the season. 7 out of 10. And now for the entry that I'm sure nobody will have any qualms with at all. At number 9, I have Breaking Bad Season 1. Now let's just call a spade here. I don't really watch live action TV outside of reality competition shows with the likes of Survivor and Big Brother, which I do want to do season rankings for at some point, but anyways, the only TV show outside of those that I've genuinely enjoyed from start to finish was The Good Place. But that's the exception, not the rule. From my experience with Breaking Bad, this was my third attempt to get through season 1. I dropped it after the golden 3 episode rule, tried again but stopped after just 1 episode, and now here we are watching 3 episodes, waiting a few weeks to watch episode 4, waiting another few weeks, and then deciding to lock in and finish 5 to 7. And that stretch after the first 3 episodes was actually pretty solid, although I do maintain that I found the first 3 to be rather lackluster. Maybe they'll be better in hindsight should I ever choose to come back to the show, but as a standalone for season 1, they definitely bring the season down for me. For the characters, I found Skylar to be a super negative presence every time she got screen time. Marie was fine. Hank, I'm pretty 50-50 on, with him being genuinely good sometimes, but then also just like way too much most of the time. I seem to be in the minority here, but I actually liked Walt Jr., at least through my experience in season 1. Yes, he's annoying, and man, I wish he knew better, but he's a kid. He plays the role well, in my opinion. Walt himself is a weird case. I never really clicked with him despite feeling like I'm supposed to, and Jesse is easily my favorite, and it's not close. He has the most potential, and contrasting Skylar, I found him to be a positive presence damn near every time he was on screen. I enjoyed his character a lot. For me, the show was just straight up not worth the hype. Now I understand that the consensus is it gets better, bro. Stick with it, bro. It gets so peak, bro. Which is fine, but the thing is that doesn't really matter for me who found season 1 to be just kind of good. I'm sure the consensus is right. I'm sure it does get better. But unlike with PGR, which has a similar consensus, the quote before it gets good, didn't hook me enough this time to want to dive right back in. I don't regret watching it, nor did I dislike my time with it, but I am definitely lower on it than others. Maybe I'll continue it, maybe I won't. 7.5 out of 10. At number 8, I have the introduction arc of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Now, I have read the manual in the past, so I have an interesting past with the series to talk about. ORV is a concept that I absolutely love. From a pure conceptual standpoint, this is one of my favorites and one of the series I'm most looking forward to. So naturally, the obvious question comes out. Well, can't overdo it. I get that you're literally one of the best human beings to breathe on planet Earth, but why would you not just start the web novel from where you left off in the manhwa? And the answer is that I simply didn't finish it. I never caught up to it. I stopped around the chapter 100 mark. And if you're wondering why, I couldn't tell you. There was always just something else to read, watch, or play, so I just continuously pushed it back, and it got to the point where I was just not reading it at all. I did genuinely plan to get back to it, I just never did. So I got in contact with the absolute legend, Unisauce. Go peep his channel for edits that are way better than mine. And he sent me a full EPUB with illustrations to boot. So yeah, I'm finally reading it. Kim Dokja is literally me for real, and I chose to start the series from the beginning for my own sanity. 7.5 out of 10. Above that at number 7, we have the first of a few Honkai Impact Third chapters to talk about, Chapter 32, End of the World. Let me introduce Honkai Impact Third, but on the moon now. Look, let's get this out of the way. Screw the side quests. I didn't do them. The new Atra thing is fine, but I don't care to do side quests because for some bizarre, twisted, fucked up reason, Honkai Impact 3rd really wants to make an open world system work. It doesn't. Please stop giving me this. Please Give me stages back, please. I beg of you. Thank you, chapter 34 and 35, by the way. For the important stuff in 32, Senti was just so fucking funny, man. Her facial expressions are just absolute cinema. Having Dr. May and Prometheus here was just kind of fine for me personally. The only thing really to talk about for me is the back end, where we see Kiana and May completely reconcile. This is the point where my opinion on Kiana really solidified. For me, Kiana Castellana of Honkai Impact 3rd has one of my favorite character journeys across fiction, with the likes of Haku from Utawari Rumono, Angela from Project Moon, Natsuki Subaru from ReZero, even though his journey's not over yet, but I digress. Kiana is genuinely in that conversation for the best character journey for me. Her growth throughout the narrative is both incredible and it feels believable. Her restating that her mission, her promise to Himiko to quote, fight for all that is beautiful in the world, is genuinely such a great scene, especially since she's restating it to May in the same arena that everything went down in Chapter 17, Thunders over Nagasora. We also get Hair's introduction at the end, but more on her later. 8 out of 10. At number 6, I'm going with Is Love the Answer, a one-shot manga I picked up in a bookstore on vacation. It's about a girl named Chika who never understood romance. It's a coming-of-age story about her learning about how society defines and treats her despite the fact that she quote-unquote strays from the norm. It's about her learning of asexuality and how she most connects with that despite not putting that label on herself, and that's really the bulk of the story. People are more than their labels, and for as short as it was, I enjoyed it. 8 out of 10. Now for the top 5, and we have a weird one, but we have Dark Souls 3. I managed to complete my first playthrough in exactly 12 hours, 43 minutes, and 45 seconds, which I think is pretty damn good for a first playthrough. I'm not going to discuss the specific bosses because I have another video ranking every boss, which will hopefully come out soon-ish. Spoiler, it won't, but hey, you know, a boy can dream. I personally did not care much for the level design. The Grand Archives was pretty noteworthy, but that's really it for me, honestly. I didn't care much for the lore outside of the final base game boss, which was thematically brilliant to me. But really, Dark Souls 3 is a game to play for the boss encounters, and I recommend playing the game because of the boss encounters. Uh, but I'm not going to talk about the bosses here because I'm going to do that in a whole other video. So, play this for the boss roster. Not really much else. There's a lot of really great fights, though. 8 out of 10. At number 4, we have the next Honkai Impact 3rd chapter to talk about, Chapter 33, In the Name of the Truth. I really liked how they talk about human civilization here, where it's revealed through Kevin that in the world of Honkai Impact 3rd, humanity is doomed to fall every 50,000 years, and the cycle continues endlessly. This gives more credence to Project Sigma for me, since it gives Kevin a stronger motive, even though he is so obviously being portrayed as the antagonist of the final arc. Manifested here was an exercise in utilizing sophisticated verbiage exquisitely distinguished courtesy of the venerable English lexicon. If you didn't like that sentence, congrats, that's how I felt about all the fancy schmancy bullshit science. Hare reveals that Alicia's sacrifice meant more than I originally thought. Because of Alicia's sacrifice, the cycle is able to be broken. Honkai itself had a glitch resulting in Alicia, who we later deemed the Herrscher of human ego. Her sacrifice at the banquet in the previous era allowed for the Herrschers of this current era to maintain a semblance of their humanity, which, because story gonna story, we can interpret to mean that this will be the key to ending the 50,000 year cycle. I really like what they do with Hare here, setting her up to be antithetical to Alicia, where she states bluntly, eventually, faces fade away and stories are lost, simplified into featureless existences, which obviously contrasts the final message of Alicia, as long as you remember us, the story will never vanish. Now, I just really want to break into this because I just really want to shit on it for a minute. Remember how I said that I wasn't doing side quests? Let me introduce to you what might be the single least frustrating thing in any video game ever. Main quest locked. Finish side quest A to continue main quest. Side quest A locked. Finish side quest B to unlock side quest A. Look, I'm not mad. I'm actually relieved. I genuinely thought for a moment that they would have forgotten to add a fetch quest in chapter 33, and I mean, phew. Thank the heavens that HI3 has me covered. Am I right or am I right, lads? Have an aneurysm. Now we get to the Bronya stuff, which was good. We get to see Plonk again, which was cool. Walt Joyce was here as well, and the heartbreaking content with Bronya's mother was fantastic. Bronya's final message to Walt Joyce was cinema. After all, the only inevitable truth about humanity is that humanity's truth will change inevitably, i.e. the only constant is change, and it's changing constantly. 8 out of 10. For the top 3, we have the Chainsaw Man movie Reze arc, and it was really great. The first half was a bit on the slower side, but it built up what made the second half as great as it was. And really, I think that's fine for a movie. More of a knock for a season of anime than a movie, in my opinion. The movie felt very artistic, very much so using a show don't tell approach, and it paid off super well. I liked this arc more as a movie than I did in the manga personally. The fights were great, the pool scene was great, the kiss scene was great, but my favorite scene personally was the scene with Aki and the Angel Devil during the tornado stuff. Beam was fantastic, Denji was, in fact, Denji. Makima was as intriguing as she tends to be. Power was barely here, but when she was great. Reze herself was the star, of course, but she played her role very well. Her dynamic with Denji was really fun from the opening up to the credits. Overall, a great movie, and it's well worth the money I spent on popcorn and soda. 9 out of 10. At 2, I'm gonna make this one somewhat short because I actually already talked about it kind of recently, but there's a funny story there. So, at number 2, I have Maybe Meant to Be. I discussed Maybe Meant to Be in the September media video because at that point I had binged the series and caught up. Fast forward only a couple of months, and I decided I let about 10 chapters build up, so I'm gonna get back on it and catch up. But when I did, I realized, holy shit, the last paid chapter has finale in the name. So I bought some coins on Webtoon, and lo and behold, I finished Jiahan's story. It was fantastic. I found Maybe Meant to Be hilarious from the get go. Two middle aged childhood friends reconnect and decide since they're both single and it would behoove the both of them to get married, so they do. The stone faced, never changing Min Chol, and the eccentric, good for nothing Jiahan. What I like most about this manhwa is that it remembers to be a rom-com. There are great romance scenes, and there are great comedy scenes. Neither completely overstay their welcome for me, with the series striking a good balance of being mostly funny, with a few more serious scenes that stick out, more surrounded by the unserious nature of the rest of the story. It was a great read, 9 out of 10. Look, man, I'm not even going to bother setting it up. Number 1 is Honkai Impact 3rd, Chapter 34, The Moon's Origin and Finality. I didn't even debate this, not even a little bit. Very easily the best piece of media for me this month. We learned that humanity has fallen at least 200 times via Hua talking about the past 10 million years and humanity falling every 50,000. It's some pretty basic math. Once Siegfried came back, I was pretty certain that we were going to get the reveal. I mean, well, we, the audience, already knew, but Kiana would be finally privy to the information that Durandal is the original Kiana. Kiana, May, Branya, Zila, and Durandal made their way back to St. Freya, and I cannot express here how insane this is. If you haven't played the game, there's no way to make sense of how impactful it was, but I mean, if you've played it, you know what it's like to be back here, man. Holy shit. I really liked the part where you could choose to follow either Kiana or Bianca's memories, and I think only being allowed to choose one was definitely the right choice, although I did peep the other side as well, and I must say I preferred the Bianca dialogue personally. Kiana saying thank you, Kiana, was absolute peak. I mean, shit, dog. She may as well have gotten up there and said, "You are truly an amazing gal, Kiana Castellana." Absolute cinema. Anyways, though, yeah, it was great. But it was also only the first half of the chapter. The second half was just as good, if not even better. We go back to the theme park and play party games just as we did in the Elysian Realm arc. Getting more Elysia content along the way, we break to send May to the Origin and she mates with Raven of the Grey Serpent, who Raven was as fantastic as she always is. Grey Serpent was fine, but after defeating him, May trudges on through the bright, white environment, monologuing to herself until she eventually exclaims, "Respond to me, Elysia." Similar to what I talked about with St. Freya, words cannot do justice for how amazing this scene was for me. Elysia and May having one final conversation was absolutely what I needed to improve my opinions on both characters simultaneously. And now I sit, awaiting the final chapter of this magnum opus, in which Kiana will surely give this sad story a happy ending. 9.5 out of 10. Now, I do quickly really want to, delve into this, which is not in the script. Obviously, I'm going completely off script here. I wrote this script before playing Chapter 35. I have since played 35, so that will be in the December video, don't worry. But anyways, that's it. That's every piece of media that I got through in November. I would do a whole outro, but on account of the fact that I don't feel like doing that, I'm not doing that. So, as always, take care, y'all.